This has been a wellness meditation. Dankeschön.
A Cure for Wellness is a pretty jacked up movie, and if you're watching this video, it's probably because you want a breakdown of what in the world you saw on screen, figure out what the water represents, what's the cure, what's with the eels, and pretty much figure out whether it was all just nonsense or if there was actually a point being made in the movie. So of course, in order to explain the ending, we gotta start from the beginning. So, first off, what exactly is the cure?
I'm not going to answer that one.
That's the one that stumps you? Crispy?
No, it doesn't stump me, but I like that you're asking. I just don't want to define it. Yeah, I mean, I think the cure should mean something different to everybody.
So yeah, he's playing that it's all up to the viewer card, and where he tells you that there is a disease, you have to bring your own baggage into the theater, figure out what in the world's wrong with you, and then kind of have it be a Rorschach test where you're trying to relate to the movie. But the movie does have a main character who does have a problem we can pinpoint. The movie also kind of gives you the most jacked up cure solution that there can possibly be. Just looking at the trailers, it's obvious that they consider the current workaholic lifestyle of screwing people over to get to the top as a disease. The idea that everyone is so attached to their cell phones and don't know how to disconnect is an addiction. In other teasers, they even focus in on those New Year's resolutions that we all know we fail at, and they tell you, yeah, those are also problems you face. Pretty much they're telling you that everybody has something wrong with them, and they need to be cured of that. They even have a website that allows you to diagnose yourself, which a lot of people already do anyway, but then it gets political. To go along with the film's marketing, the studio set up different fake news outlets that would report on real-world issues, except they were playing on the fake news trend. One reported on Trump and Putin chilling at a resort, another on a Utah bill that was going to publicly embarrass and arrest women who have had an abortion, that Lady Gaga was going to perform a Muslim tribute at the Super Bowl, and people shared these links. Each page had a Cure for Wellness ad at the bottom, which I guess was supposed to be the subliminal marketing they were trying to do. But when people actually figured out, yo, these are completely fake things and it's connected to the movie, well, they shut down all the URLs and pretty much just had them redirect back to the main website. But it still has you asking, why though? According to someone from Fox, A Cure for Wellness is a movie about a fake cure that makes people sicker. As a part of this campaign, a fake wellness site was created, and we partnered with a fake news creator to publish fake news. As our movie's antagonist says, there's a sickness inside us, and only when we know what ails us can we hope to find the cure. I personally find that advertising to be dumb, but they were trying to prove something with it, and that's that people, when they hear something that they really relate to or they want to be true, attach to it regardless of even figuring out if it's valid or not, and in that case, share it and spread it. In the case of the movie, they're explaining to you that we live in a society that always wants quick fixes. We always want to feel better, we want to be healthier, but we want that solution that is just going to happen overnight. Yet, there's always going to be someone who knows that and is going to take advantage of you because of it.
To have somebody offer very simple solutions to things, I think is a great sort of con, right? It's a great confidence game. You're not well, but don't worry, there's a cure. There's a sort of palpable sense of denial. I think that there must be a reason we're vulnerable to the pharmaceutical industry or that kale smoothie or whatever it is. Like we're, if I said to you, are you sleeping well or do your feet hurt? At some point you're gonna go, yeah, that's what I have. I have that thing.
Thus, you get all these patients who, like those addicted to pharmaceuticals, continue to take their doses even though it's killing them. Pretty much what Gore Verbinski is telling you is that there's always going to be people who are going to try to convince you that you need something, that you're missing something, or that you're just straight up sick, but they're only doing that because they want to take advantage of you. So, in terms of the movie, way before DeHaan arrives, we get this jacked up Magic Mountain meets Crimson Peak-like story that really thrives on its location, which is the true star of the movie.
A place where the vast majority of the sanitarium is set. was the worst place I've ever been in my life. It's a hospital compound called Belitz. It's where Hitler was rehabbed after the First World War, where he sent all the Nazis when they were psychologically or physically damaged. Then the Russians took it over. They sent all their political prisoners there, and they lobotomized them and gave them electroshock treatment. There've been a series of mass murders there, and it's jinxed a number of other tragedies.
Why didn't we start there?
Yeah, it's the most haunted building in Germany, possibly in Europe. And the one building we dressed up for our shoot looked nice, but everywhere else there were places. Personally, I didn't want to look up in case I saw people in the windows when they're meant to be abandoned.
So, in this jacked up place 200 years ago, lived a baron in his castle who loved his sister. And we're talking that Game of Thrones Targaryen love. He wanted to keep his bloodline as pure as possible, but his sister had a terrible illness, which really just ended up being that she couldn't get Junoed and wasn't fertile. He would kidnap villagers and use them as test subjects for his experiments, hoping that one day he can come up with a cure so he can have babies with his sister. Obviously, the villagers were like, nah, brah. They got fed up, went up to the mountaintop, revolted, burned the entire castle, the Baroness, and then, and don't question it, turns out that the Baroness was actually secretly pregnant. They rip out the baby, take it out, toss it into the water, and then just dip out, leaving the whole place aflames. The only reason the baby lives is because the mountain is built upon this like magic eel mountain water that when you throw people into it or they live in it, these eels live to be 300 years old, and thus when the baby gets thrown in there and it's premature, it is able to survive and live. The Baron, who's all Leatherface now since his face was burnt, comes up with a new disguise as he switches up faces and becomes a doctor who sets up this new wellness facility. His goal is to set up the cure, not for the patients he's bringing in, but the one that will help his little girl get her period, because again, this man truly wants his bloodline pure. The cure also keeps him, his daughter, and the workers all young, but of course it also makes them crazy. However, going back to the disease thing, he's able to use that to convince people to come to this wellness center because he's got a cure for whatever is making them not happy. The beauty of it is that he convinces all of these old, rich people to come in, thus being able to fund the facilities that he has. He then literally juices them to create this cure. This process is done by having them constantly drink the eel water, which as we see even has little baby eels in it. The water itself is horrible for their bodies, but he's treating them like trees, which take in CO2 to then purify it and release it as oxygen. When these bodies consume the eel water, their body purifies it so then it can become the cure. I don't know how long it took him to figure that out. But that's why they constantly drink it, bathe in it, sweat in it, and even skywalker themselves in these tanks that are meant to deprive them of their senses, and that's why nobody ever leaves or wants to. The final step is putting them in these vaults, shoving eels down their throats to extract the serum and, come out of somewhere else, and then boom, they now have a vial of their cure that smells like sweat and fish. This process obviously destroys the body, it causes their teeth to come off, they dry up, so they're suspended in this water tank that kind of rejuvenates them, so they can then repeat the entire process all over again. When they do die, they're sent to the old burned building where they cast the dried up bodies to the eels to eat. Knowing what this crazy man is doing up in his castle then leads us to Lockhart, who's looking for his boss, and after reenacting the deer scene from The Ring 2, he ends up as a patient in the facility, but a younger patient than the rest. That means that when they juice him, his body purifies the water to the point that it allows Shia LaBeouf's wife to finally get her period. But right before the doctor can get all jiggy with it and throw his eyes wide shut party, Lockhart comes in, kills him, and runs away with the creepiest smile on his face on a bike and becomes the Amblin logo. So that's the story. But there's a little bit more symbolism going on that we could break down. For example, we all know that Verbinski loves water in his movies, and in an interview with Film Stage, he addressed his recurring motif and how it's a metaphor for several things: birth, catharsis, drowning, baptism, and in this case, purification. I also know a lot of people question the ending and why this dude is smiling, and the thing is, he's crazy. Besides all of the things that he just saw, this man was consuming that serum, which, as you saw, was making everybody else crazy. Pretty much, imagine it like the Lazarus pits in Batman, and where, sure, you can go in it and it'll give you life, but it's also going to make you insane. There's also a lot of foreshadowing in the movie, such as the cow that gets slit to reveal a calf, thus referencing the Baroness. Gore Verbinski says that the deer that doesn't fall down is supposed to represent Lockhart and how he won't give up. There's also Lockhart's mom, who has this ballerina who she claims is awake while nobody else is, but she's going to be the one to wake up everybody from their dream, which is really what Lockhart ends up doing at the end of the movie, which is also why Gore Verbinski kind of calls it a reverse Sleeping Beauty. But finally, the eels, which symbolically in a lot of books and interpretations is supposed to represent phallic and males, you know what I'm talking about, and is the reason why you have that imagery of Hannah being withheld in the bathtub. So that's A Cure for Wellness, a movie that sets up this Rorschach test to make you dissect what the illness is in you, only to deliver a grotesque gothic tale of incest. And yeah, it goes insane at the end, but the whole setup of bashing workers in the beginning of the movie, only to exploit the hospital patients at the end, was meant to reflect the audience. Viewers who don't realize the world around them is burning, so they keep dancing, as long as they think they've received a cure.
This has been a wellness meditation. Dankeschön.
Thank you guys for checking out this movie. I'm curious to know, maybe I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts down below in the comments section on what you thought about this crazy movie. Maybe you liked it, maybe you didn't. I thought it was insane, and there's a lot of scenes that really don't make any sense, but there is still a lot of interpretation and a lot of hard work that went into this. If there's one thing I would say about this movie is that I definitely want Gore Verbinski to direct that BioShock movie that seemed to have gone nowhere. But other than that, I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts down below in the comments section. And until next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you guys later.